What you're seeing here is one of my favorite scenes shot from a single camera. It's a very simple still shot of a band practicing a song in one single room. From the shot, you can hear drums, a guitar, a bass, and one vocalist. And although the camera is set up so that we can only see what's happening through this small doorway, you're still able to see and hear everything that's going on in that single room. But what makes this shot so beautiful is its potency to evoke so many different emotions, even without knowing any context to what this is. When you first watch this scene, the lighthearted nature might make you feel nostalgic. But as you pay more attention to the background, maybe that nostalgia shifts into a tone of sadness. And if you let that scene play for even longer, that sadness is eventually overwritten by the joyful cadence of the vocalist. This is a scene that can't be described with one word, but if I had to, it would have to be Linda 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 is an early 2000s Japanese film about a high school band that has recently broken up. And the film starts off by introducing us to 3 of the 5 members. Kei, a guitarist, Kyoko, a drummer, and Nozomi, a bassist. And although their entire band has recently parted ways, the 3 of them still wanted to try performing together one last time. And with their cultural festival coming up, they wanted to take that as their last opportunity. But there was one major issue. They had to find another vocalist for their band. And with no one else in mind, they decided that they would just sit down in front of a random vending machine and make the first person who walks in front of them their new vocalist. And eventually a person walks into frame, but it's one of their old band members, Rinko. They still ask her anyways, hoping that she would reconsider joining the band once again. But she responds back with, "What's the point?" And I think everyone at some point has asked themselves this same exact question, especially when it comes to things like hobbies. There's always that bickering voice in the back of our mind that tries to second guess and reconsider everything we're doing because we're so worried about using time the right way. And even though everyone has their own interpretation of what that looks like, we all kind of share the same universal fear of not wanting to waste it. And that's because time is the most valuable thing we have. Even if it's something we love to do, like music, like art, it's these kinds of endeavors that always end up being consumed by the terrifying obsession we have about using time correctly. And as a result, it's the little things like hobbies that people are more inclined to give up. For Rinko, small things like playing in a high school band won't have an impact on the larger picture of her life, especially when it compares to all the other things she could be doing. And with that reason, Rinko says no. But before she can walk away, there's someone else in the background who's walking down a set of stairs. And without any hesitation, Kei shouts out to her, suddenly asking her if she would sing for their band. And she immediately agrees, almost like she didn't understand what she was saying. But that's exactly what happened. Sun is a Korean foreign exchange student who doesn't speak Japanese too well. She's a very timid and shy girl, the polar opposite of someone who'd want to be front and center singing in a band. But without realizing it, she had just agreed to be a lead singer. And what makes it even more intimidating is that the song that she has to sing is in Japanese. Though hesitant at first, she decided that it was only right that she keep her word and try her best to do what she can to help out the band. But before Sun could start practicing, she needed a place where she could sing alone. And so she decides to rent out a local karaoke room. But when she walks up to the front desk and tries to order one, the owner tells her that she has to buy a drink first. But Sun responds back with, "I just want to sing." But again, the owner responds back by saying, "You can't sing without buying a drink first." It's a very odd and abrupt scene, but also kind of relatable. It's clear that Sun has a strong desire to sing, but the way she refuses to buy a drink first is very telling of the oversight and denial she has on the amount of commitment it's going to take, especially since she needs to learn Japanese first. And it's frustrating to her because if she didn't have this language barrier, she wouldn't have to work twice as hard and spend twice the amount of time on these little steps that don't matter. The little things like practicing, like learning Japanese to her, are getting in the way of the bigger things that she wants to eventually do. And I feel especially sympathetic to this scene because there have been many times myself where I've shown and felt the same frustrations for the same reasons. Spending time on tedious and smaller things isn't something that I want to be doing, especially when there's a much larger goal that I want to get to. And I can't help myself but feel like everything that gets in between me and the bigger ambitions are pointless. When you're in the moment working towards something, all the little things just feel like they're there to hold you back. And so it's hard to appreciate the time spent on these smaller moments because when you have a larger picture that you want to paint, the details that go in the smaller parts will always be overshadowed. But that's not entirely true. It's our smaller moments that make up the values we have for the bigger ones. Without them, our larger ambitions will mean nothing when we eventually get there. The entire plot of this movie is as simple as it can get. It's just about a group of girls who want to play in a band for their high school. There's no real stakes and it's nothing over the top. But even if that's the case, at the end of it all, every single person in this band has given it value. And that's because all of the sentiments, experiences, and growth were created in the little moments on their path towards it. There's beauty in smaller moments because that's where every spontaneous memory and growth comes from. When Sun goes on her journey to learn how to sing and learn Japanese, she ends up growing and experiencing things that she never thought were possible. In all of her smaller moments, she was able to discover that there's value in her voice that goes beyond just singing. Spending time every single day surrounding herself with people that constantly uplift, encourage, and inspire her gave her confidence in her voice to come out of her shell and not be ashamed of who she is. As Sun is living through these smaller moments on her larger journey to sing, she grows taller in other parts of herself. And it's the accumulation of all these little things that she's done that make it possible for her to stand on the stage and sing. So when she finally arrives in her big moment, she takes a deep breath and faces the crowd, keeping in mind every moment that came before this.